Hey, my name is Rick, and we're going to look at some bash prompts tonight, or whenever in the day that you're watching this. I am going to do this though over 2 videos. This is what we're going to cover tonight, just these things here. And then in part 2, we're going to cover some more prompts, but those require some installation of certain fonts, and I don't have them on my Mac, but I'm certainly having a lot of interesting experiences getting these fonts installed on this old Mac. But it is making my terminal look an awful lot like the terminals I see on some of the fancy YouTubers doing terminal based programming, or any person doing cool terminal based stuff. I'm starting to look, the terminal that I'm using is starting to look a lot like what they have with some of these niceties. In the previous episode, number 9, we talked about the building blocks for doing a prompt for yourself, and that includes the PS1 variable, the prompt command variable, and those are powerful techniques that if you keep building on it, you're going to have a very complicated and interesting looking prompt, especially when you pair it up with colors. And on the internet, though, people have already done a lot of interesting work in that direction, and I'm going to demonstrate some of that here. So Python virtual environments, I think, so first, Python virtual environments. I'm going to first show off a thing and then explain it maybe in another video, but I have here a terminal that's a little jazzed up from the terminal I've been using before. This is a Ubuntu machine that I have installed on my Mac using software from Canonical called multipass. So hopefully I'll talk about this some more, because it's actually intersects a little bit of the work that I do professionally, namely working in Docker and Kubernetes. Again, I don't want to have this be a brain dump of what I do at work, but one of the things that's cool about working in a Dockerized environment is that you don't mess up your own environment. So I have here multipass, which has a lot of the features of Docker, and some of the features of which has a lot of the features of Docker with none of the difficulties of Docker. Namely, I don't have to start a Docker server. Again, this Ubuntu is running on my Mac, and it is something entirely separate from the Mac OS. So I'm going to crank this up very big just to crank it up. And I'm going to start a tmux, which I have. This is same tmux that we've seen before on my other machine, and go back to the outline, which is Python virtual environments. I think to some extent virtual environments was where I realized that the prompt was something malleable, meaning this is the PS1 for this machine. I've customized it, but it's the same one as on the other shows that I've done. It just sets the color, it displays my username and displays my host name, and there's a colon, and then there's a path here, and then there's if I go into a directory, I can see things here, and I can go into another directory, and you can see the directory being built up over time in this section here. Yeah, so the PS1 command is here, but when I started working on Python, I can't remember when it was exactly I started working on it. Python and I have had a back and forth relationship because I was a massive Perl fanatic in the 90s. I thought nothing could ever replace Perl, but time did its thing. Perl faded from my muscle memory and my main memory. I do have some old programs that still run in Perl that I keep thinking I'm going to convert to Python, but ironically the Perl still works. So but many new projects that I explore, I usually end up prototyping in Python. It's just a richer environment, to me it seems, and it's one where the language makes a little more sense. Anyway, one of the things you learn when you're working in Python is to set up a virtual environment. So I have a Python here that is Python 3. I don't want to install anything in this system library, so I've created a Python virtual environment following the instructions in this web page here. And I'm going to put all of these links in the description of the YouTube, so you'll be able to look at this. When you engage your Python environment, like for example, if I do pip list, no, it's not found, but if I engage my Python using this venv bin activate, take a look at what it does to the prompt. It adds a prefix to it, venv. And now if I do pip list, I mean, I'm going to get something. I hope. Yeah. So the point of this little demo was to show that, hey, the environment, the virtual environment, actually manipulates the PS1. And I think it was, I don't know, I think when I dug into it, I think one time I've been using virtual environments, I became more comfortable with it. And then I thought, what is going on? What is under the covers here? And if you look at that little script that we executed, you can take a look and see that PS1 here is just wholesale replaced by this new PS1, which has the venv prefix. And I guess I never really thought about it, that it could be manipulated like that until Python virtual environments. And it was pretty cool to start, at least for me, it was pretty cool to dig into this little script. I also, this was all part of a deeper exploration into how how do Python virtual environments work. That's not the point of this video, but PS1 can be manipulated, and the Python virtual environments do, and that was my introduction into being really curious about the bash prompt. Now I'm going to start another terminal using the tmux. I'm in a new terminal window here. I'm in this terminal now, and I am now going to talk about git-prompt. Git-prompt, git-prompt, when I was deep for a long time with Git. I mean, I use it professionally. I'm committing code and I'm uploading it to a Git repository at work, and I'm using Git regularly, reading commits and making my own and looking at the log, etc., etc. One of the cool things that you see when you look at other people working on their terminal is that their prompt tells them stuff about their Git. So I have a Git repository here. This is actually another prompt that we're going to look at. But you can see that I have this Git repository right here, and it's from this Oh My Git repository from GitHub. The prompt, though, doesn't tell me that I'm in a Git repository. But when, again, looking at Git very closely, I found that Git has a prompt that comes with it. Git is an open source project and has a lot of different tooling inside of it. One of the tools that it has is a Git prompt. And here are the instructions. You first grab this file. Now you can go and get this using something like curl -O and make sure to get the plain version, and you get this Git prompt. And what happens when you do this is you copy it somewhere and you change your PS1 to point to this. So let me quickly do that. I'm gonna do a horizontal split. I always forget this. So I've copied this. I'm now going to do a source of the Git prompt. Then I'm going to change my PS1 to be basically this. So it's interesting. This is saying if your PS1 is this, add this block right here. It's just this part here, the dollar and then the open paren, close paren stuff. All that stuff in between we're going to put in the middle of this PS1. So it's a bit of a tricky edit, but I think it'll look a lot. I mean, if I get this wrong, we'll just copy what's in here. But I just go all the way to the end of the dollar here. Yeah. Actually, I think I can do PS. No. Let me do it this way. So I put all this in there like this, dollar, but then in here I am going to put in this thing. Just copy this. Yeah, no, okay, I messed that up. This needs to be a single quote, and I need to end this with a single quote. Now my prompt is the same as what it was before, but there is this new thing at the end, this git ps1. So now if I go into oh my git, it displays the fact that I'm in a master branch of a Git repository. If I do git status, I see that I'm on the branch master, and I can then know from the prompt that I am in a Git repository. And this piece of functionality, it's really cool to navigate your terminal and to go inside of a Git repository and know that you're inside of a Git repository from the prompt. You don't have to wonder, where am I again? Oh yeah, I'm in a Git repository. And you can change to the different branches here. I don't know if there are any branches here. There isn't, but if I did a branch here, you can see that I've done, I've changed to a new local branch. Maybe I'll change the README. Well, I don't know what this is. If I put in here Ricky Molly, well, anyway, you see that I have, I'm in a new branch, and this is all courtesy of the Git team. They have here a very basic Git prompt, and I've not read this code, but I am noticing this. If you set to git ps1 show dirty state, for example, if I do this, I only just now read this. So if you set this to be 1, what you see is this asterisk here, which shows you that your Git repository has some, quote, dirty files in it, meaning files that haven't been staged. And there's also git ps1 show tracked files. So there are no untracked files here, but if I made one untracked and I do git status, you can see that this is now an untracked file. And if I do this environment, this now shows %, which means that there is an untracked file. And you see that. Anyway, again, all of this functionality is available from the prompt, and there are a few more arguments here. Yeah, this is deep. If you were to search this code, you'll see that the prompt command is set automatically to this thing here, ps1, git underbar ps1. So if you read this code, you can see how to write your own highly customized prompt command. Again, I didn't read this. I just noticed this comment at the top, and it's pretty cool to have this functionality. And again, I liked that this Git prompt was available, and I did start to use it, but then I don't know, must have been reading Reddit or Hacker News, but I ended up finding this prompt, magicmonty, and this thing has, I'm going to say here, yeah, 6,400 stars on this. It's an informative and fancy Git prompt for Git users. Now, if I'm going to make another directory, another terminal here, and it's called bash-git-prompt, and the installation of this is very simple, although except for the fact that I can't remember it. Yeah, clone it and then source it. So I am going to do that. I am going to just source bash-git-prompt and then git-prompt. And now you see that it basically redid my prompt, but I'm not in a Git directory. So one of its features, one thing that I really liked was this, git prompt only in Git repo. So if I set this, and if I do this source again, okay, maybe it doesn't work this way. Let me make another window and do it in reverse. Yeah, this works the way I remember it at my office or on my work laptop. Namely, if I'm in a random directory that has nothing to do with Git, the prompt remains the same. But if I go into a directory like oh my Git, it immediately changes into something very colorful and very different. Now, at work, I've customized it so that it's jammed into my normal prompt, but this is the default behavior. And looking at this, you can see that there is like one local change here. You have one additional file, and it just has a little bit more information in its listing, reflecting what is the status. So if I remove that untracked file, you could see that there is no more untracked file business here. And if I restore that README, you can see that it is up to date with the upstream. So a lot of these prompts, in fact, all the ones that we're going to look at, have to do with knowing at a glance the state of your Git repository. And that's something that is important if you're going back and forth between different projects and repositories, like you might if you're working, or at least like you might if you're working with me. And we have, I think, 4 or 5 repositories that we bounce back and forth on, and it's good to know what branch you're in. Now, the other thing is this Ricky Molly, I just realized that's not my username. That's the branch that I'm in. So if I do a git checkout and go back, it shows that I'm back on the master branch. There is one other feature that I have not tried, but there is this Solarized thing. You can do this git prompt theme Solarized, and what this will do, well, I don't know what this will do, but we're going to find out together. Export git prompt theme Solarized. I think it just didn't really do much. Let me make a small change. No, it didn't really do much. Yeah, it looks the same as before. Maybe the timestamp is different. But all manner of customization of these colors and these symbols can be done. Again, if you go in and read about how to set up the theme and how to make your own theme, it's rereading or looking at its README some more made me appreciate its full functionality, and I think I'm actually several versions behind. I looked at my notes and I installed this, I think in 2022 or maybe even 2021. So at least a year I've been using this prompt at the office, and it's it's been very helpful. And again, it's what I use at work, and I would say this is one I would recommend. But I did start looking at some of these other ones like bash-powerline. Bash-powerline is a version of a prompt that was originally written in Python. So rather, the prompt uses Python programs. Look at the fancy prompt here. This one is a version that is written entirely in Bash. So if I make a new window, and yeah, I think it was how did I install this? Yeah, you just source it. Yeah, just source bash powerline here, and changes it. And if I go delete, and that looks okay. But if I go to my Git directory, yeah, you can see it's got the same kind of information at a glance. I'm in the master branch. I'm now in the Ricky Molly branch, and you can make a commit here. I think this is how to do it. Nope. You can see when you make a command that produces an error, you get a red prompt here. That's what this message is. If you say false, you can see that dollar becomes red. Wow, this is how new this thing is. I haven't configured this. We're not gonna commit this, but it'd be good to have this. Nano. Now what you should see is that there is an update, and this directory, yeah, it doesn't say that it's off the version, but if I were to merge this into main, like if I do git checkout before, and if I do git merge Ricky Molly, you can see now that this says, hey, your local version is ahead of the remote by one commit. That's what that up arrow and a 1 there means. And I believe that's the same thing you get in this one too. Yeah, you get this one. But I like that it has that period there to kind of break up the symbols. So this prompt, the bash powerline is intriguing. It's got a certain shape to it that, again, I thought it would be interesting to explore. I still do find myself drawn to the one that I use, bash-git-prompt, primarily because it allows me to have my own prompt outside of Git, outside of a Git directory, whereas whereas bash-powerline, if you get out of your directory, you're still inside of it. You still have its you're still in its directory. So if I do if I do bash, essentially you can't toggle between the two. Although as I say that, let me see if there's a way to if I go to this one, let me see if it says, no, this, yeah, it's always on. Whereas the magicmonty's prompt, it is specifically displayed when you're in a git prompt, when you're in a git repository directory, when you're in a git working directory. I think the thing about Powerline that I thought was interesting, though, is that I did take this detour into color schemes, and that's how we're going to end tonight. I've been reading this page on Solarized, and it's a theme that I ended up installing in Terminal. I put it here, Solarized Dark and Solarized Light. I got that from this directory here. It's supposed to be better for coders who are staring at their screen. There's this apparent some science behind the way it looks. I do know that it feels relaxing to my eye. And I guess as an exercise, I'll just bring up my usual one, crank it up. You can sort of see that this one is maybe a little more, harsh. So this feels normal to me, this terminal here, but this one is probably a little better for maybe normal or maybe heavy duty use. Well, for example, it may be. Oh yeah, take a look at this delay here. I went into Solarized. It's a Git repository. And now this prompt took quite a long time to come back. Yeah. But yeah. I do have this. I also found out about this other. See, look at that. That's a little bit of a delay. I did like, for example, if I type true, look how long it takes for the prompt to come back. So that's another thing that I use to measure prompts is perceived delay. But if you go do this in magicmonty's, maybe there's also a perceived, there's a delay in here also. Yeah. But let's go do that in the git prompt from Git. Yeah, maybe it does take a while. The prompts, what they're doing is they're doing the same thing as git status, plus a whole bunch of other things. It's counting the number of commits, it's counting the number of branches, it's determining whether there's tracked or untracked files. It's all that takes logic, and if it's not written efficiently, then there's going to be a perceived delay in the prompt, and it's hard to tolerate that, but again, you get a lot of utility for it. Right. So that's us looking at some prompts. The next episode, number 11, we're going to look at a few more prompts, yet more prompts that have the ability to display even more information on its command line, because it takes advantage of new fonts, namely these nerd fonts and these terminal fonts. So these three prompts, bashed, on a feeling, and oh my git, which we've been trying to explore, have some interesting capability because of the fonts that they have. Although this is pretty reasonable to me, this check mark and the way that the prompts look. That looks perfectly fine to me. So the point of this video, though, is you don't have to write your own. There are a good number that are out there on GitHub that you can adopt and customize, and since it's open source, you can fork it and add your own bits to it. So go and check that out. The next episode I'm going to talk about will be yet more prompts, but with some new extra fonts installed. So look forward to that. Thank you so much for checking this out, and we'll catch everybody next time.